not the flow of blood, the speed. Will it increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Increase or decrease? Let me think. This is
Increase.
inside the.
Decrease.
How many of you are saying decrease? Okay. And how many of you are saying increase? No one is saying increase. Okay, Galvin is saying it will increase. Okay, first of all, everyone switch on your videos. Everyone. Yes, Galvin, switch on your video. Nuha and Sumaya, switch on your videos.
Now you're talking about the second one, right?
Yeah. In the second one, will the blood flow or the rate of blood flow, will it increase or decrease? Now, most of you are saying it will decrease, right? But now I'll give you one more situation. How many of you have watered plants in the garden? All of you have? I think all of you have, right? So, like, do you use the garden hose, the pipe that is used for watering, right? I think all of you have used that. Okay. Now, have you people done that thing wherein you press the mouth of the pipe so that the water would flow really fast? So, 2 lines of water come out of the pipe. Have you done that?
Yeah.
I think all the normal people have done that, isn't it? We like normally the water flows like this, but as soon as you press it, the water flows really straight and it's really fast. And if you like put your hand here and press it, it will hurt, isn't it? So what does that signify? That when we are decreasing the diameter or when we are decreasing the area of the pipe, the flow of water is increasing, isn't it? You're basically you're decreasing it only while you're taking it and you're pressing it, right? You're increasing, decreasing the lumen. Lumen is like this whole structure, right, through the whole pipe. Now you're taking it and you're pressing it, so you're decreasing the area. Now the flow of water increases, isn't it? While you're doing the watering the plants. Now same thing happens during the blood, like in the blood vessels also. The blood vessels are pipelines of our body. Okay, so if just in case any kind of gunk or fat or any kind of these things get deposited in the blood vessel, so the blood pressure increases because the flow of blood rushes. Getting my point? So now talking about the blood pressure. So it is the pressure that is exerted by the blood flow on the walls of the blood vessels. And we know that there are 2 major blood vessels that are arteries and veins, right? So now we know that like while we were studying double circulation, we saw that the heart contracts and then it relaxes, isn't it? Meaning first the auricles, they contract, the blood moves from the auricle to the ventricle. And when the ventricles contract, the blood goes out of the ventricles and gets distributed wherever it is supposed to go. So what do you think will happen to the auricle when the ventricles are contracting? Will it contract or will it relax? When the ventricles are contracting, what will happen to the auricles? Will it contract or will it relax?
Relax.
Yes, very good. The auricles, see, while the auricles are contracting, at that time, the ventricles are in the relaxed state. And while the ventricles are contracting, the auricles go into the relaxed state. This is how the cycle continues. Now, that contraction, whether it is the contraction of auricles or the ventricles, the contraction gives, you can say, a higher rate of blood flow, and the relaxation decreases the rate of blood flow. So whenever we say that the contraction is taking place, we say that it is a systole. Contraction in terms of biology is systole, and relaxation in terms of biology is diastole. Now the pressure that is exerted by the systole, right? Systole means contraction. So the pressure that is exerted by that systole is known as systolic pressure. And the pressure that is exerted by the diastole, we call it as the diastolic pressure. So our pressure is a combination of the systolic and the diastolic pressure. Now, the unit of blood pressure, just like how we have units for any kind of measurement, right? Kilometers, meters for the length, then variety of measurements, right? Kgs, grams, milligrams, micrograms, so many units are there. Same way, the blood pressure also has a unit because it is a measurable quantity. So the unit of blood pressure is millimeters of mercury, mmHg. Mm means millimeter, Hg is the sign, you can say the symbol for mercury in chemistry. So mmHg, that stands for millimeter of mercury. Have you people had your blood pressures measured?
Yeah.
All of you have, right? At one point of time, you might have gone to the doctor. Doctor, like they wrap the band around your hand, and then they start pressing. It gives a really hard pressure to your hand. And have you seen the apparatus on which the blood pressure is measured? Have you seen it? Right? There is like a ball-like structure that rises up, and slowly it comes down, isn't it? Why is that rising is happening? Because of mercury. That has mercury. Okay. So the unit of blood pressure is millimeters of mercury. Now the normal blood pressure that a person has is 120 over 80. This is read like this. You don't say 120 by 80, 120 upon 80. No, you say 120 over 80. That is how you read a blood pressure. So the normal blood pressure is 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury or mmH, in which the upper value, meaning the value in the numerator side, is the systolic pressure, and the one in the denominator side is the diastolic pressure, meaning this pressure is exerted by the contraction and the below pressure is exerted by the relaxation. Now, if you see the units, obviously the contraction pressure will be much more as compared to the diastolic, meaning relaxation pressure. Now, if the blood pressure increases above the 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury, if it comes above it, then we say that the person has a problem of high blood pressure or hypertension. I think in all of our families, there is a person that has high blood pressure, isn't it? The person who gets angry too fast. Do you people also have it in your homes? Have the person that has high BP? Hmm? So there are many reasons why a person can have high blood pressure. Okay, the first and the most common reason, for example, if there is a person that has a lot of meat, okay, red meat, or a lot of oily fast food and gunks, basically junk food, right? So what happens now? I'm talking about a really like unhealthy habit, that is junk eating, right? So when a person does that, slowly the fat deposition starts taking place in their body. Okay, fat deposition takes. Students, am I visible to you all?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
my voice, is it lagging or is it fine?
Your voice is a little
Yeah,
bit
because
lagging.
It is lagging a little,
yeah,
your video and your voice.
yeah, because your videos are frozen to me. I think my internet connection is not that good today. All right, am I audible now, students?
Yeah.
So yeah, so as I was saying, when a person has too much of gunk or too much of junk food, so slowly the particles, the fatty particles that are in it, they start getting deposited towards the inner, or you can say the lumen of the arteries, right? Meaning inside the blood vessel, they start getting deposited. And as a result of which, the lumen, meaning the area inside, decreases or gets narrower. So then it is obvious that if it will get narrower, the blood flow will be increased a lot. So that is one of the many reasons of high blood pressure. Now the instrument that is used to measure the blood pressure is known as sphygmomanometer, the name of the instrument. Okay, and you should remember one more thing. You people already know that arteries are those blood vessels that carry oxygenated blood, and veins are those that carry deoxygenated blood. But there is one more difference, that the lumen of the artery, lumen means the space inside the artery, it is much smaller when you compare that to the vein. Okay, this is again. And one more thing is that the arteries, they are deeply situated, meaning the green, you people might see greenish veins, right? I think all of you can see that. Everyone has it here also and here also. So the blood vessels that you see clearly, those are the veins, because we are situated. But we cannot see our artery. Clear, students?
Yes.
Any doubts? Okay, now for those of you who don't have the notes, note it down. How many of you don't have the notes for this?
Ma'am,
Yes?
I'm in school they didn't teach blood pressure.
I can't hear you, dear. Can you say it again, please?
Ma'am, in school they didn't teach blood pressure.
Still can't hear you. What blood pressure?
Ma'am, I will text it.
Type it, type it. I can't hear you. Type it. Type it in the chat. Okay, Ibad, do you have the notes of this particular thing?
I don't think so.
Hmm?
No.
Then note it down. Oh, your school did not teach you about blood pressure, but
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
there in your book, right?
Let me check.
Just check once. But it's there. I have seen the book there. Yes, Maha. Okay, I understand, but still, maybe some questions might be asked. Okay, you like confirm it with your teacher that whether it is significant for you people in your school, because some teachers
Okay,
teach
ma'am.
it, right, and some people don't. So you make sure. Okay. Done, students?
Yes.
Done, students? Okay, it's on 20th October, Maha.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have how do organisms reproduce coming, right?
Yes, ma'am. Only till the asexual part.
Okay. And I have taught life processes, the whole chapter once in the class, right? Have I? All right, now moving forward. And the control and coordination part revision is done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that chapter I have taught also, revision is also done. This chapter I have taught, but the revision is not yet completed, right? All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next, that is platelets. Now, this is one of the component of the blood. And we do know that whenever we get a cut, whenever we get an injury, it is because of the platelets that our blood stops flowing after a while. We do not, like, our blood does not keep on oozing out, flowing out throughout the day. It only flows for a little while. And because of the blood clotting mechanism that is done by the platelets, the blood flow or the blood, you can say, release stops. Now, at the site of the injury, wherever the cut or the anything, the cut or the scratch or the wound is there, so in that place, the particular, you can say, scum or a clot is formed that stops the blood from flowing. Now talking about the lymph, which is also known as the tissue fluid. Now, lymph is the colorless fluid, right? It is the colorless fluid. And when you can say, if you think about the composition of the lymph, so it contains less protein as compared to the plasma. Like plasma of the blood has more proteins and the lymph, which is the tissue fluid, has less amount of protein. Talking about what is the function of the lymph, so it absorbs the fat molecule. Like whenever the food gets digested in our body, you might remember that the small intestine has been surrounded with a lot of blood vessels and a lot of and that blood vessel actually contains the lymph because it is extremely important for the absorption of fat molecules. Apart from that, it also drains the excessive fluid from the extracellular space to the blood. Drainage part, it acts like a strainer and it does the process of drainage. Clear, students? Lymph and platelets are clear. Moving on to
Yes,
the transport in plants. The transportation in the case of plants occurs with the help of the conducting tissues, or you can say the vascular tissues that are xylem and phloem. So xylem is responsible for the conduction of water and minerals, and phloem is responsible for the conduction of food. And collectively they are called as the vascular tissues of the plant, or you can say the connective tissues of the conductive tissues of the plant. Now the xylem transports the water, minerals from the roots to the different parts of the plant, whereas the phloem transports the food from the leaves to the different parts, meaning the part from where any component is being transferred and the part to where it is being transferred, it's obviously different, right? Now, when we talk about the transportation of water, as I told you that it is done by the xylem, and for that very purpose, The xylem has 4 components present in it: tracheids, vessels, xylem fiber, and xylem parenchyma, the 4 components. Now, the tracheids and the vessel, they form sort of like a column. Like tracheids, they are long tube-like cells. Vessels, they are cylindrical cells with a big central cavity. So they are forming a column. Okay, their function is to form a column through which the water would pass. And the xylem fiber, now these are thick walled fibers and they are dead cells. Okay, they are dead tissues. So if they are dead, it means that they will not perform in the transportation, but they will help in the process of, you can say, support, because they are dead and they are strong. So they can help in the process of supporting the plant. Then comes the xylem parenchyma. So these are the living thin-walled cells that serve the purpose of storage. They have the purpose of storage in the case of plants. So the xylem, ultimately, it's made up of 4 components. Each of those components have their own function to perform. Is it clear, students?
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
moving forward, for the transportation of water, the xylem, tissues, vessels, and tracheids of the roots, they all are interconnected. Then only the water can move from one place and be transported to another place. So the whole am I audible, students? I got disconnected.
Yes, ma'am.
The internet is not behaving today. Okay, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
So like I was telling you about the interconnected network, so they form a channel. Channel means a pathway, you can say sort of like a leading area wherein the water would flow from. This connection forms water conducting channels which reaches all parts of the plants. Wherever water is required by the plant, that channel or that connection will be present. The roots, they take up the ions from the soil actively. Now see, there are different mechanisms of transportation: passive, active, and you can say normal, simple diffusion. So when I talk about diffusion and when I talk about passive transport, so it does not require energy and it gets transported from high concentration to low concentration, meaning along the concentration gradient. But when I talk about the active transport, so it requires ATP. Okay, it requires energy. And apart from that, the active transport is not along the concentration gradient. It can be from low to high also, because ultimately ATP is required. Now, whenever ATP is synthesized, this is the equation wherein ADP along with the inorganic phosphate forms the ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So naturally, if we will split the ATP molecule, it will be split into ADP and inorganic phosphate. Clear? That is ATP breakdown. So when I say that the roots, they take up the ions from the soil actively, meaning they do so with the help of ATP molecule, right? They utilize ATP to take up the ion. And this uptake of ions causes a concentration gradient between the root and the soil. And because of this gradient, meaning if the root has absorbed more ions and it has less water, then the soil has more water. So the more water from the soil will move to the roots, because high concentration to low concentration. So this causes the movement of water from the soil to the root, and we call it as osmosis, right? Like osmosis is just like diffusion, but since it happens for liquid, so we call it as osmosis.
Ma'am,
Yes.
what's gradient?
Gradient is, how do I explain it? See, for example, if at one place there is a higher concentration of anything, let's just say the pressure, volume, or amount. At one place it is in high, and at one place it is at low concentration, low pressure and all. So this high and low is a gradient. This is a gradient. At one place something is at higher concentration, and at another place anything is at a lower concentration. So this high and low, two types of concentrations when we get, we call it as a gradient, concentration gradient. So now naturally, under, you can say, natural circumstances, the substance, whether it is water, whether it is gases, they will move from the region of high concentration to low concentration. Clear? And whenever anything has to move from low to high, then energy is required. Okay? Now, the evaporatory loss of water, that is transpiration. Now, transpiration is the process through which water loss takes place from the stomata of the plant, right? So, now imagine if the plant is there and all of the water is being lost into the environment. So, don't you think that it will cause the plant to absorb more and more water to compensate? Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So the evaporatory loss of water, that is transpiration, from the surface of the green leaves, it creates a pull for absorption of water from the soil. Meaning, whenever transpiration takes place, it makes the plant absorb more and more water. This also moves the water upwards from the roots to the leaves. Now, the process of transpiration also serves the purpose of temperature regulation. Okay, I'll keep it till here. Till for those students that have not noted down, you don't have the notes, so note it down. Okay, then we'll move forward. Are you people noting it down for those that don't have the notes?
Yes.
Okay, good. If you are, then very nice. And if you are not, then I will not provide the notes later on, even if you ask. So while the teacher is giving you the chance, you utilize it. And I have one questions to all of you students. In my class, whenever you come for your biology class that I teach, is there any problem that you people are facing? You can be frank with. Okay, is there any problem, any difficulty, or maybe the style that I teach in troubles you, or you're not able to understand? If there is, now this is to everyone, all the students, every single one. I'll not take names, everyone in the class. If you have any problem, just raise your hand. If you have any problem. And if you don't, it's all. And if you have, see, this is your chance. You can ask the teacher to teach like the way you want to be taught. Okay, so this question is for everyone. And no one switches on their video. I don't know why. See, students, so right now, I'm giving you sort of like an open opportunity. Okay, open opportunity as to if you have anything in your mind, you can talk to me about it. Okay, so one by one, I'll ask you all if you have any problems, if you are facing, or if you're not able to understand. Many a times, it happens that in a group of people or in a class, some students understand better, some students do not. So you people can be confident, like you can say honest about it and come to me with it. Am I audible? My screen got frozen.
You're audible, ma'am.
So none of you are facing any problems? None of you? Then I expect full marks in the exam. Okay, then I expect no errors or no bad marks in the examination. Okay?
Ma'am, I'm gonna give assertion reasoning questions.
Okay, you people. Yes? What are you saying, Maha?
I'm gonna give assertion reasoning questions.
Sure, sure. I will. I'll teach you how to combat those questions. Okay? Okay, students, let's just keep it till here only for today's class. In the next class, I'll give you time to take down the notes also, and we'll continue. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.